Welcome back to the Bible Reading Project. It is Friday, hoping to inspire you to read the Bible every single day. Zero excuse. However, we've stepped it up a notch. Don't just read it. We want to get into the Bible and study it to be able to give a defense for our faith. Remember what we said at the top of the week. It is a weak human being who believes something but can only back it up with feelings and emotions. That makes for a weak argument. But for people who believe something and back it up with not just passion, but with facts and with being able to explain why they believe something, those kind of people are inspiring. Even if they fall on one end of the spectrum that seems weird, they believe what they believe because they've been convinced by more than just feelings and more than just emotions. But they can back it up with historical precedents and factual precedents and scientific precedents and scriptural precedents if you are a Christian. So what we've been doing all week long, abortion, it is a hornet's nest for sure. A lot of Christian believers, which is what we're talking about, Christianity and abortion, fall all on the spectrum. So today we are talking about, and here's where we've been so far, go back and listen to all of them, that God's wisdom is the beginning of life. That wisdom is in a sperm and an egg, and when they unite together, it begins life. We saw that the removal of life is murder. We came to the point that we believe, but I believe that abortion is murder because it's the removing of life. It's not counted as murder because we do it lawfully in America, so it's just counted as a surgery or a convenience. And then we fell on the final fact that is abortion health care. I gave my opinion on that. I don't think it is at all. But there is a grand argument that is put forth. I've saved the best to last because I think it makes for a great argument on both sides of the coin. So I'm just going to go to one side. We'll flip the coin. I'll give you what I think on it. But this is something I read I want to share with you. I think it is a good point to be made. Here it is. The unborn, those are the babies. The unborn are a convenient group of people to advocate for. They never make demands of you. They are morally uncomplicated, unlike the incarcerated, addicted, or the chronically poor. They don't resent your condescension or complaint that you are not politically correct, unlike widows. They don't ask you to question patriarchy, unlike orphans. They don't need money, education, or childcare, unlike aliens. They don't bring all that racial, cultural, and religious baggage that you dislike. They allow you to feel good about yourself without any work at creating or maintaining relationships. And when they are born, you can forget about them because they cease to be unborn. It's almost as if by being born, they have died to you. You can love the unborn and advocate for them without substantially challenging your own wealth, power, or privilege, without reimagining social structures, apologizing, or making reparations to anyone. They are, in short, the perfect people to love if you want to claim you love Jesus, but actually dislike people who breathe. Prisoners, immigrants, the sick, the poor, widows, orphans, all the groups that are specifically mentioned in the Bible, they all get thrown under the bus. Here it is for the unborn. Pretty good point that I think it's fair. It doesn't bother me, especially his last line, all the groups that are specifically mentioned in the Bible, babies are too, by the way, they all get thrown under the bus for the unborn. So a good argument. I would imagine there's a lot of people who advocate for the unborn and walk right past a homeless person. Advocate for the unborn but never do anything for the vets. Advocate for the unborn but don't do anything for the people coming across the border or southern border. Advocate for the unborn but really could care less about all the people in nursing homes that are not taken care of, that have no family. Advocate for abortion, but do nothing for foster care. Never would even sign up for foster care. They just don't want the trouble. Because I think it is true, the born cause trouble. Those that hit the planet can cause a myriad of problems. So I will give the argument that that's a pretty good argument. I'm not going to fight that one. But I think the weakness of the argument is to assume that if I advocate for the unborn, I'm morally responsible to advocate for every other human on the planet. That would be as silly as saying, well, the doctor that only does heart surgery doesn't care about the people who are dying of brain cancer. And I just tell you, my oncologist doesn't even care about my weight. So, I mean, there is the thinking that just because I'm passionate about one area in my life doesn't mean that I'm inept and don't care about anybody else in my life. So I think that's the weakness of the argument. I'm not saying that the way it alludes here, it almost alludes like that's all of us, that anybody advocating for the unborn gets a free pass to do nothing else with living human beings. And I don't know, I mean, I'm reading it, so I don't know what the person that wrote it felt like. They are a pastor, so I don't know where they fall. But I will say it's no different than, saying to the person who is a vet and who takes care of animals that they hate humans because they take care of animals. If you really love people, you should take care of humans too. And by the way, you are a vet and I need this tumor out, so you're my friend, so why don't you cut the tumor out because you're a vet? If you really cared about me, you would do that. So I don't know if I like the debate that if I advocate for the unborn, that I naturally fall into a category that once they're born, I don't care about them at all. I think there are people that may feel that way. So let's go to the extreme. You advocate for the unborn. When the unborn come, you could care less about anybody else. You're just hyper-focused on the unborn. Okay, I give you that, but at least you're hyper-focused on something. And maybe you're a person that you don't really even think about abortion. You don't want to, it hurts, but you're hyper-focused on feeding the poor, feeding the hungry. Okay, great. Just because you feed the hungry and you don't go pick at an abortion clinic doesn't make you a bad person. It's like, well, you care about hungry people, but I can't believe you don't care about babies in the womb. So the argument is really just a moot point, because I don't know if we're all supposed to care about all that all the time anyway. I think we're supposed to own our 50 feet. Like, what are you passionate about? And then give it all you got. And if it's feeding the poor, go feed the poor. We need people to do that. If it's advocating for the unborn, then go do that and do it passionately well. If it's taking care of the vets, then go take care of the vets, but not guilt trip each other into, well, if you don't do what I think is important, then how dare you? If you don't see the world the way I see it, then how dare you? So I'm sure there's a lot of people who maybe believe abortion is wrong, but never do anything with it. And I can't look at them and go, well, y'all, you suck because you don't do anything about abortion, because those same people are out feeding hungry people, and they're giving to the homeless, and they're supporting orphanages, and they go into the nursing homes and love on people. And so I think that's the fairness of this thing we call Christianity, is that what God calls us to do, we do. Even Jesus, he didn't call me to this. He even called the lady a dog. He said, that's not what I was called to do. I was called to the lost sheep of Israel. This is not why I'm here. And I think it's okay to say that. I think the only time it becomes a detriment is when, I love what he says, is that you can't throw everybody else under the bus. So if I advocate for the unborn, at the same time, I need to not throw the homeless and the hungry and the people in jail under the bus. So let me give you this as an example. I'm not really advocating for the people in the jail. I let other people do that, but I go. There's a gentleman in our church that runs a whole jail ministry, and I go and I give my time when I can, and I pour into it when I can, and I give the best I can do, whether that's playing a guitar, whether it's just doing a devotion. Glad to help. So I go to the hospitals, glad to help. So I think we just need to land on Christians is that we don't beat each other up because we're all not 100% into one thing. I think we go do what we're passionate about, or 100% into everything, and then we just, we support, and we do it through prayer. So I'm not against that we have a screwed up world, and that there's more things. Example, we could do better with health care. We could do better with pre-pregnancy issues. We could do better with counseling. We could do better with foster care. We could do better with adoption. We could do better with health care for people who can't afford it. We could do better with our prison systems. We could do better. But to assume that, well, because all that is terrible, let's justify killing a baby. And that's where I go, no, just because B sucks doesn't mean A is now approved, taking the life of an unborn child. I think we can just look at both and go, both need a remedy. The remedy here is that we go no abortion and help women and be there for them. And then, like we say, and then once the kid is born, come on, maybe I'm not the one that's going to advocate. I move on back to another unborn, but we can't be stupid and go, well, nobody's out there, because there are. In every community, there are churches, there are faith-based programs, there are government programs, there are individuals that are helping, that are working, that are doing their part. So I think we just can't say the world sucks, so that justifies killing babies, or a mother who's in poverty, or a child who's going to grow up in a terrible neighborhood with no father. So therefore, that justifies abortion. And as a friend of mine said one time, we need abortion because if you don't have it, they're going to go out and do it in the back alleys. And I thought, why do you throw people under the bus like that? I mean, so if we don't legalize abortion, they're just going to go to a back alley with a coat hanger and just take, and he goes, yeah, they'll do that. So we need to provide it in a health way. That's why it's called health care. We're going to take the baby in a healthy way so that the mother keeps living. And I go, okay, I see where you're coming from. So the thought today is abortion justified because we live in a fallen world that potentially is broken and sucks and is terrible? Is abortion justified because the mother comes from a terrible side of town? Is abortion justified because a mother is on poverty level income? Is abortion justified? And I think that's where we have to really have the harder conversation. So, but here is the thought. I don't think every Christian has to be 100% into everything. I think the Bible's clear. We're all gifted. We all have different things we're good at. So during COVID, right, everything shuts down. And pre-COVID, we did Saturday night church here. So we were building a new building, and we went into Saturday night church, which was fun because what it did is it lent me the opportunity on Sundays to go visit. So every Sunday, I'd preach on Saturday, get up on Sunday, and go to all these churches all around, Hiram, Dallas. I'd just slip in, sit in the back, go check them out, see what God's doing all over my area. Here's the one thing I found out. I heard great music. I heard terrible music. I heard great preachers. I heard not so good preachers. I went to some churches where I thought, man, this is the most awkward group of people because I feel really out of place. I went to other places. I walked in the door and I thought I was their long lost brother. They treated me like a king. But when I got home and I'd assessed an entire year of doing that, here's what I came at. Everybody does what they're good at. That is the bottom line. Every church just does what they're good at. Some were great at music, not so good at preaching. Others were great at preaching, not so good at music. Others preaching music, but the people were just, oh man, over the top love. And that made me feel good because I think we got to be great at everything. And I'm just like, man, just be great at what you do. Be great at what you're good at. Be great at what God has gifted you to do. And I think that's where I fall with this issue of abortion versus social justice, the unborn versus the born. It takes passionate people in both of them. It takes people that are willing to advocate for the unborn, and it takes people willing to advocate for the born. And we can't just throw each other under the bus. Well, if you aren't out here, then shame on you for advocating for abortion. So let me give you some scripture. This is kind of where I've landed on that. I'm all for it. I try to do it myself, not only advocate for the unborn, not only am I sending funds to Pregnancy Resource Center and trying to help and doing what I can do. I also do the same for the jails. I also do the same for adoption centers, supporting people that are doing that. Even though it's not my passion, I try to get involved with it where it's other people's passion. So let me read you 2 scriptures. I hope you have a great weekend. This will give you a good challenge. It goes back to what that pastor said. Listen to this in 1 John chapter 3. It says, we know that what real love is because Jesus gave his life for us, so we ought to also give up our lives for our brothers and sisters. If someone has enough money to live well and sees a brother or sister in need and shows no compassion, how can the love of God be in that person? So here's the thought for today. You don't have to do everything, but you need to be compassionate about everything. I think that's the best way I can define it. You don't have to be out there doing it, but you need to have compassion for those who are doing it and be part of it with your compassion. Then it says this, verse 18 of 1 John 3, dear children, let's not merely say that we love each other. Let's show the truth by our actions. Our actions will show that we belong to the truth, so we will be confident when we stand before God. So I think no matter what we do, whether we advocate for the born or advocate for the unborn, I think our actions need to speak the truth. And in that, we're having compassion. So if I'm advocating for the unborn, I need to put action to it. I don't need to be passive, but I need to show compassion to those who are advocating for the born. Also, for the women who have chosen abortion, this just putting them down, making them feel terrible for it, making them feel like, oh my God, you're a sinner, you're going to hell, God hates you for it. That's not compassionate at all, because people are hurting, people are broken. So advocating for the unborn and not caring what the mother of that child is going through in the moment, whether psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, whatever's going on, we can be so passionate about the unborn that I just really don't even care about the mom. I just need to get this baby. And, if we're advocating for the unborn, we need to have just as much compassion that the mother's hurting. The mother needs help. The mother needs care. The mother needs people to love her through life, walk with her through life. So I think it is a fair thing when we discuss, we don't need to just toss one for the other. If we're going to advocate for one, we have compassion for the other. And I think that is the way we can pull this off. We advocate, we have compassion. If we're advocating here, then we have compassion here, and we work together. And by working together, great things happen. Let me give you a final scripture. Hey, in your reading this week, you got all weekend, 1 John chapter 3, 1 John chapter 4. Let me read it to you. It's the very final verses of 1 John 4. If someone says, I love God, but hates a fellow believer, that person's a liar. For if we don't love people we can see, how can we love God whom we cannot see? So I think that is the beauty of it all. We've got to love each other. We've got to have compassion for each other wherever we fall in this spectrum of abortion. Be passionate of what you believe. I think I've tried to share exactly what I believe, but I also need to have compassion for those who believe differently than me, and work together so that people can know the love of God, the heart can be changed, and we can find peace. Have a great weekend. I'm going to pick up a good topic next week. It's going to be good. I hope it challenges you well. Feel free to share this. Feel free to go back and listen again and again. Get it in your heart. Find out what you believe. Hey, I encourage you to do this. No matter what our culture does and where they go, always remember the true north and the plumb line of the Christian faith is the scriptures that have been left behind and the precedents of the apostles and prophets that have gone before us. Have a good day. I love you. Be blessed.